Hi everyone, this is it, the final, number 50 in the Queen 50 series. Of course, you all know by now that that doesn't mean that I've covered every single piece of Queen and that I don't intend to listen to more in the future, but this is the end of the series and the title is The Show Must Go On. Interestingly, I just discovered, I just read in a couple songs ago that Freddie was a fan of Pink Floyd, and this title actually reminds me of Pink Floyd's The Wall, doesn't it? Isn't there a number in there entitled The Show Must Go On? I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but came to mind as I was reading the title here. Let's see what I have to learn. The Show Must Go On is the 12th and final track on their 1991 album Innuendo. It is credited to Queen, but written mainly by Brian May. The song chronicles the effort of Freddie to continue to perform despite approaching the end of his life, although his diagnosis with HIV/AIDS had not yet been made public in spite of ongoing media speculation that he was seriously ill. After listening to John Deacon and Roger Taylor playing the chord sequence that later on would be the basis for almost the entire song, Brian May sat down with Freddie Mercury, and the two of them decided the theme of the song and wrote some lyrics. May wrote down the rest of the words as well as the melody, and added a bridge with a chord sequence inspired by Pachelbel's Bell's Canon. May was convinced the song's title was too predictable and offered to change it, but Mercury refused. Well, whether or not it was inspired by Pink Floyd, this, of course, is more of the traditional use of the phrase, the show must go on. No matter how tragic, no matter what mountains we're facing in front of us, the show must go on. Let's see what it sounds like. Nice.
Empty spaces, what are we living for? Abandoned places.
Okay, hold on. Empty spaces. I guess Freddie must have really liked Pink Floyd, but okay, I don't expect him to be repeating The Wall, so let's see what's going on here.
Empty spaces, what are we living for? Abandoned places, I guess we know the score. On and on, does anybody know what we are looking for? Another hero, another mindless crime, behind the curtain, in the past. Hold the line. Does anybody want to take it anymore? The show must go on. The show must go on. Yeah. Inside my heart is breaking. My makeup may be flaking, but my smile still stays on. Whatever happens, I leave it all to chance. Another heartache, another failed romance. On and on. Does anybody know what we are living for? I guess I'm learning. I must be warmer now. I'll soon be turning round the corner now.
Wow. This is, I guess part of it is the fact that I know a bit of the backstory now, right? I don't think that I would feel the impact so strongly if this had been my very first piece that I listened to in this series. I can appreciate the show that they gave. I can appreciate all that they had together and did together, and I can appreciate the fact that Freddie is very, very ill now and no chance of recovery. But I'm trying to take this just on its own merits as a piece of music, in spite of that. Because my whole intent as a musician listening to this music started out as being, let's evaluate the music for what it is. Well, that's a bit unfair, because even in classical music, when we are studying a piece or teaching a piece, we recognize that you have to have the context in order to appreciate, in order to communicate and really get into it. You have to understand the context, which is, of course, why I have started going through rock history a little bit more systematically as well. But all of that aside, if I were to place this on its own 2 feet, out of context of the story of the band, Freddie's story, it would still be an incredibly powerful piece of music. It hurts, it aches, it cries, and it has such a determined, the strings, chink, 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 and the repeating chord sequence is communicating a sort of tenacity and determination and persistence and drive to continue. And the lyrics themselves referencing even lines, I guess I'm learning, I must be warmer now. I must be warmer now. Like the game of hot and cold. Are you getting warmer, warmer, warmer? I mean, bringing in all these references. I'm going to finish the piece, of course, but I just wanted to take a moment to express the impact that this piece has. And yes, it's emotional, but it's not just because of the story, although the story exists and lives within it.
The show must go on. Yeah, yeah. Ooh, inside my heart is breaking. My makeup may be flaking, but my smile still stays on. My soul is painted like the wings of butterflies. Fairy tales of yesterday will grow but never die. I can fly, my friend. The show must go on. Hey, the show must go on. I face it with a grin.
Go on. Go on. When the band recorded the song in 1990, Mercury's condition had deteriorated to the point that May had concerns as to whether he was physically capable of singing it. May recalls in 2023, I woke up one morning with this image of butterflies in my head, and I thought I would love to hear Freddie sing, "My soul is painted like the wings of butterflies." I thought, this is Freddie. And he's not going to write it for himself, because he wasn't going to thrust himself forward in that way, you know? But I can write it for him. I wanted to put those words in his mouth, and it was a gift from God. I don't even know where those lyrics came from. So I presented it all to him the next time he turned up in the studio, and by that time he was suffering a lot. He could hardly stand. I played him some of the demo with me singing, which went incredibly high and was very difficult. In the past, Freddie was always shouting at me like, "It's too effing high, you're making me ruin my beautiful voice." So he downed a couple of vodkas, neat, then propped himself up on the desk and worked his way through singing all of that song. And it was amazing. I think he did 3 or 4 takes, and he absolutely smashed that vocal. It's like he reached into a place that even he had never gone to before. I remember saying to Freddie, "I don't want you to hurt yourself. You know, don't force yourself to do this if it's not going to feel good." But he said, "I'll effing do it, Brian." And he did. And it was beautiful. I think it's one of his finest performances of all time. It's incredible. That was Brian May, 2023. Well, you know, Vlad instructed me to read that. Not to look at it before listening to the song, but to read it immediately after. And it confirms some of the things that I want to say about the song. First of all, this line, "My soul is painted like the wings of butterflies." I noticed that line. But you know what I noticed before that line? Was Brian May's guitar solo, which walked that line into the room. And it's a line of the guitar that's just going up and up and up and up and up and up. And the thought came to my mind, this is like butterflies flying, even before I got to the lyrics. And I was going to comment on it afterwards, saying, you know, and share that with you. And then to read that was the whole inspiration for the song, it makes perfect sense. Of course he had butterflies in his mind. And of course he must have been envisioning that as he was playing that guitar solo line that goes up and up and up and they're flying away. Let's go back and find that and listen to it for a moment. There's a darkness, and it's a little bit foreboding. There's a heaviness to it. Bum 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 bum. There's a strength within it. There's a tension, and when it starts, if it were slower, it would be a funeral march. Think of some of the great classical funeral marches, but this one, it's not funeral march tempo yet. Instead, it's more determined, moving forwards. But the tension in there is so present. The drums making that commentary, walking us down. The bass, we're walking. And the suspension here. Until we resolve. It's just so powerful right at the beginning. The choice of using strings to make that opening statement. And there's something a little bit Vivaldi-esque in it because of the strings. But it's so somber and serious and painful. And then this line, empty spaces.
Empty spaces, what are we living for? Abandoned places.
The guitar giving a little commentary.
On and on. Does anybody
Again, and I feel like I'm saying this over and over again, I have to credit Brian May for his melody writing. It's fabulous. And this harmonic sequence, which he gathered from the others in the band and applied to this song, it's perfect. And the lyrics, empty spaces, I'm sure that somehow that came from Pink Floyd. What are we living for? Abandoned places. I guess we know the score. We know the score. On and on. Does anybody know what we are looking for? Another hero, another mindless crime, behind the curtain in the pantomime. It's placing this in a... Well, of course, the show must go on. It is placing this in the context of a show. Theater. We have a music score. We have the story, the plot, another hero, mindless crime, look behind the curtain, pantomime. What are we looking for here? Abandoned places. This idea that this theater, in a way, this show, feels so empty. Again, I feel references to The Wall and the theatrical setting of that, even though this is completely different.
Oh, what we are looking for. Another hero, another man.
The descending lines in the accompaniment.
In the pantomime, hold the line. Does anybody want to take it anymore? The show must go.
And this I tried to comment as it was playing, but I'll say again, if you listen to the little statements by the guitar, by the instruments in the course of this, they're always falling at the end, always descending either note by note or a slide. It adds this weight and this seriousness to it. And then this drum, it's not just chi-chi-chi-chi-chi-chum, it's chi-chi-chi-chi-chi, boom! And such a heavy, full statement there.
Anybody want to take it anymore? The show must go on. The show must go on. Yeah. Inside my heart
You hear the
is breaking.
pulsing.
My makeup may be flaking, but my smile still stays on.
Inside my heart is breaking, my makeup may be flaking, but my smile still stays on. It reminds me of a story I once read about a father who was a professional clown. And he was out performing. And his struggles, because his son was dying of leukemia. And it's the story of him visiting the hospital, then going out to perform, visiting the hospital, going out to perform, coming to the hospital, discussing with the doctor, with the paint still on his face. And of course, the kids in the ward, they see him and they think, clown is... And so he puts the smile on his face even there, because he does a little impromptu show with for the kids in the hospital ward. And this idea that my makeup may be flaking, but it's still there. And my smile still stays on, even as there are tears streaming down my face and my heart is just shattered inside. And to bring all of that into this, again, it's the context of a show. But it's so poignant and eloquent in its expression.
Still stays on.
Still stays on.
Whatever happens, I leave it all to chance. Another heartache, another failed romance. On and on. Does anybody know what we are living for? I guess I'm learning.
and thinking about Freddie in his physical state. And he still has the agility in his voice to sing for and going all the way up and doing it just with, it feels easy here. It feels like he's done it a million times and he'll do it a million times more. There's nothing in the sound of his voice in this recording that sounds unwell to me. It's so alive. And well, I've commented many times in this journey, in this series, about how it feels like Queen as a whole embrace life. And their entire attitude is live and live and live. And I guess I find it incredibly both powerful and beautiful and consistent that even now, Freddie lives with his voice in this recording. And even at that point in his life, he was able to pull it out of himself, somehow, some way, find it in himself, this living quality in his voice, and just let it loose.
Anybody know what we are living for? I guess I'm learning. I must be warmer now. I'll soon be turning.
I like them.
Round the corner now. Outside the dawn is breaking, but inside is the dark. I'll make it to be free. Show must go on. The show must go on.
You hear the darkness and the bass underneath.
Ooh, inside my heart is breaking. My makeup may be flaking, but my smile still stays on.
There's the guitar. And here's the butterfly. Butterflies.
My soul is painted.
Did you notice how much that felt like, the butterflies are just taking off and they're setting free? That was truly the thought in my mind, even before I got to the lyrics, when I heard that. And it's incredible that Brian May was able to paint such a vivid image sonically, that even I, not knowing what was coming next, not having read ahead in the lyrics, butterflies was the word that came to mind when I heard that. And I'm also thinking, what about the rest of the band? I mean, what must it have felt like to play this and record this with Freddie in that moment? They're all in top form, musically speaking. They have a lifetime of experience together. They are Queen as they have always been. And it's interesting to hear that this piece is more the traditional mix of instruments, not so much synth, but it's drums, it's guitar, it's the classic Queen chorus, it's Freddie's voice, is the bass, and each one of them is contributing so beautifully to this mix. And it feels like each one of them is kind of in this music, feeling the weight of the moment, at the same time willing the show to go on.
My soul is painted like the wings of butterflies. Fairy tales of yesterday will grow but never die. I can fly, my friend.
And he carries it on.
Show must go on.
You hear the echo of it in there.
I'm never giving in. On with the show.
And there we go again. Up and up and up and up and up and up.
Ooh, I top the bill, I'll overkill. I have to find the will to carry on with the show must go
And then it go on, go on, go on. And it drives this into our our core as it's go on and on and on. It's going to go on. It's amazing to me that this is the last piece that Freddie recorded. The last. And because his death wasn't unexpected, it wasn't an overdose, it wasn't a motorcycle accident or something like many of the other deaths in the rock music world that I have touched on different artists. This was a known event that was coming up. And I'm thinking of, the gift that this was, as Brian May said, he wanted to do it for Freddie. He wanted to put these words in Freddie's mouth. He wanted to hear Freddie sing and have this be something for Freddie. I'm also thinking, what about Freddie? Wasn't this an incredible gift to the rest of the band? To be something that he would sing with them? Kind of for them. The show must go on. Freddie is not going to be able to live, but the show must go on, and I guess Queen continued, didn't they? Vlad's shaking his head no. Okay, so they didn't continue, but still, they had to carry on with their lives, and they had to pursue their passions, and obviously Brian May and I think Roger Taylor, the drummer, also they pursued their musical passions. So in a way, the show went on differently, but still, each of their lives, the show went on. And to have that be the last musical message that Freddie gives to the band, I think is also an incredible gift. So it goes both ways, both for Freddie and from Freddie. I feel like saying, it's such a fitting final piece. It almost feels like this can't have happened in real life. Like, this is the sort of final piece you would hear in a movie in which someone has complete control over the script start to finish, and they can write this wonderfully heartbreaking, tragic story that pulls on all our heartstrings and impresses us and thrills us, and then at the end, there's got to be a final great piece to send everybody on to the next part of their lives after the movie. This is that good, and it's that powerful, and it's that beautiful, and I love the fact that it wasn't a movie. That it isn't a movie, that it actually happened this way in real life. It wasn't scripted. It was Brian May's inspiration and the contribution of the entire group together. Perhaps a little bit of chance and fate that Freddie was able to stagger into the studio that day and manage to find it within himself to record it. But here we have it, and it's beautiful. It's hopeful, it's courageous, it's strong, and as with Queen all along, it points us upwards and forwards. It gives us, it kind of gives us something, maybe when we don't have the strength in ourselves, we'll turn on the music and listen to The Show Must Go On, and then carry on. I think it's utterly beautiful. And, well, there we have come to the end of the Queen 50 series. Many of you following the series have said this song or that song was missed. I know there are plenty of other songs, and I won't be skipping them for my entire life. So you can expect to see more queens showing up at some point in the future. But what a beautiful, beautiful journey this has been. Wonderful experience from the beginning to the end, all 50. And I guess you've seen me enjoy practically every single one in its own way, for its own self, on its own merits. And there we have it. Queen 50, completed. Thank you all for sharing it with me, and thank you, Vlad, for picking these. I'll see you soon.